Did you know every year pharmaceutical companies make billions, yet millions of people still can't afford life-saving medication? This is one of the harsh realities of the pharmaceutical industry. These companies often talk about their life-saving treatments and innovative drugs, but what are their true priorities? Do they care more about money than people's lives? To answer these questions, in this video, we'll uncover how Big Pharma became so powerful, and why drug prices keep rising. From their unethical business model to their grip on politics, we'll also look at how they influence the healthcare industry. But why should you care? Well, Big Pharma has influenced everything from prescription prices to healthcare laws. Their power has shaped the medical world. They impact all our lives, yes, even yours. So today, we the big picture are uncovering their hidden truth about them. Let's dive in. First, let's go over the basics. What is Big Pharma? Well, it describes the corporate giants that control the healthcare industry. These companies make and distribute medicines for everything. They treat chronic conditions like diabetes and deadly diseases like cancer and heart disease. But what does it mean to be called Big Pharma? And when did this term come to represent such a giant force in healthcare? Big Pharma is more than just big businesses coming together. These companies began growing in the early 1900s when technological advancement and medical demand increased. This expansion made Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck household names. But this also has generated a lot of debate over the same period. Big Pharma is responsible for great medical innovations, including vaccines and antibiotics. However, these companies don't just make life-saving drugs. They also hold significant power over health policies and public health decisions. Their rise to global dominance is impressive but not without controversy. The influence of Big Pharma goes far beyond science, reaching into politics and the economy. They have gained a reputation for only caring for profits instead of the patients they treat. The focus on shareholder profits has led to some shady practices. These include price gouging and manipulating research to favor expensive treatments. These actions have raised serious questions about the ethics of the pharmaceutical industry and its impact on the world. Adding to the controversy are the conspiracy theories surrounding Big Pharma, which claim that these corporations act in secretive and sinister ways to prioritize profits over patients. Theories include accusations of suppressing natural or alternative remedies, hiding cures for diseases like cancer, and profiting from prolonged illnesses rather than pursuing genuine cures. Many even allege that some vaccines or medications, such as for COVID-19, are ineffective or harmful, and were made all in the name of maximizing profit margins. While most of these claims lack evidence and have been debunked, they highlight a growing distrust among the public, thanks to the industry's track record of unethical behavior and its staggering global influence. Whether through innovation or controversy, the legacy of Big Pharma continues to spark heated debate about its role in society. Now let's look at what these pharmaceutical giants care most about. Money or the patients? Without a doubt, drug pricing is one of the most controversial topics connected to Big Pharma. These big companies often claim they charge high prices to cover the massive costs of research and development, R&D. But a closer look at the numbers tells a different story. The actual cost of developing a drug is often much lower than what these companies claim. Big Pharma justifies high drug prices by claiming R&D costs. Yet between 1999 and 2018, they only spent $1.4 trillion on R&D compared to the $2.2 trillion on marketing and administration. This shows profits drive prices more than innovation, as most of the money goes on marketing and other expenses. A study done by York University researchers shows U.S. pharmaceutical companies spend about 2 times more on advertising than on developing new drugs. For example, Johnson & Johnson spent $22 billion on sales and marketing, compared to $12 billion on R&D, while Bayer spent $18 billion on sales and marketing compared to $8 billion on R&D. Then there's insulin. Insulin is a life-saving medicine for diabetics, but its cost has soared in recent years. The American Diabetes Association reports that insulin prices have tripled over the last 10 years. However, the actual cost to manufacture insulin is very low compared to what people pay at pharmacies. Big companies like Eli Lilly, Sanofi, and Novo Nordisk control the market. They use their power to keep prices inflated, and it's not just insulin. This is a problem for various drugs, including cancer therapies and many more. These companies have more reasons to focus on diseases that need ongoing treatment, like chronic conditions. The idea is that if someone has diabetes, heart disease, or asthma, they'll rely on prescriptions for life. This means constant profits for the pharmaceutical industry. So diseases that may only need one-time treatments get far less attention, as they don't bring in the same long-term money. Can you see how unethical that is? Not to mention, big drug companies say they charge high prices in rich countries to cover their costs. But the truth is shocking. Cancer medicines, for example, cost much more in the US than in poorer countries, even though they cost the same to make. Sometimes companies choose not to sell cheaper versions of their products in poorer regions to protect their profits and intellectual property. This means that even when life-saving drugs are available, only the wealthiest can afford them, while others are left without access to critical care. There is also the case where Big Pharma develops treatments for rare diseases, but these drugs are frequently priced excessively high. Even when government subsidies are involved, the small patient populations for these diseases mean the cost per treatment is spread across fewer people. So prices soar. Despite subsidies, companies keep prices high, prioritizing profit over access. What's more, these companies use tricks like evergreening to keep prices high. By making tiny changes to old drugs, they extend their patents and block cheaper copies from being made. This keeps their monopoly and profits growing, like with the hepatitis C drug Sovaldi. Another issue is middlemen, called pharmacy benefit managers or PBMs. They help decide which medicines people can get through insurance. They are supposed to help lower prices, but they actually make the drugs more expensive. How? Well, drug companies give PBMs discounts, called rebates, based on how much the medicine costs. But instead of passing those discounts to the people buying the medicine, PBMs keep the money and the price of the medicine stays high. Now the thing is, the higher the medicine's price, the bigger the rebate PBMs get. This makes PBMs want to push more expensive medicines, even though cheaper ones might be more accessible and available. For example, in 2022, U.S. insurers and pharmacy benefit managers collected over $7.6 billion in rebates, up from $3.8 billion in 2018. So people who have to pay for their medicine out of their own pockets, or who have high deductible insurance, end up paying a lot more. As you can see, instead of lowering drug costs, this system often keeps prices high as the rebates never reach patients, only benefiting these middlemen and drug manufacturers while leaving consumers to pay more. So the question remains, is Big Pharma really about helping people or just about making money? By now, you can probably tell Big Pharma influences more than just drug pricing. One of the most powerful tools in their arsenal is lobbying. Pharmaceutical companies spend millions each year lobbying officials to push policies that favor them. In the US, the pharmaceutical industry is one of the biggest lobbying sectors. For example, in 2023, they spend over $380 million on political lobbying. Not to mention every year they do the same, using up over $300 million for lobbying. Big Pharma also has a big influence on insurance policies. They work closely with insurance companies to push expensive brand name drugs, even though cheaper generic versions are available. This means that people end up paying higher costs for medications, even if they could get the same treatment for less. Insurance plans often list expensive drugs as preferred choices and leave cheaper options off the list. For example, commercially insured patients with a deductible now pay 50% more out of pocket for brand name medicines compared to 2014. This makes it harder for people to save money. Because of this, Americans feel scammed by both insurance companies and Big Pharma, and they're stuck paying too much for their medicine, with little control over their healthcare expenses. The scary part is these big companies use their political power to shape regulations in their favor. They create rules that keep their medicines expensive and prevent cheaper versions from being made. These industry giants also fund much of medical research, raising concerns about bias in scientific studies. Researchers may feel pressured to publish results that favor the drugs funded by these companies. Doctors are influenced by Big Pharma too. They often feel pressured to prescribe certain medications in exchange for commissions or gifts. This leads them to choose expensive and dangerous drugs over cheaper and safer options, even if those may not be the best choice for the patient. Another thing is big pharmaceutical companies also shape public opinion through over-the-top advertising campaigns. These ads promote their own products and attack competitors. They often push the idea that their brand is the most effective. These ads create fear about the risk of cheap medicines, making both patients and doctors choose the more expensive option. Even more troubling is how Big Pharma influences the medical education system. Many medical schools rely on pharmaceutical companies for research money, educational materials, and even scholarships. This raises concerns because medical students might be taught to favor certain drugs made by these companies. On top of that, Big Pharma sponsors events like conferences and educational programs, giving medical students free materials with their branding. This helps build loyalty to their products. These actions can make doctors more likely to choose expensive brand name drugs instead of cheaper, equally good options. And that's about it for this one. The influential power of Big Pharma is undeniable, but so is our ability to question it. As we uncover how they operate, their motives, and the impact of these companies, We can now push for reforms that benefit public health rather than those at the top of these giant companies. Only by being aware can we create a system that works for all. Thanks for watching, and if you have enjoyed the video, leave us a like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check the description for more relevant resources.